What unfolded in Indianapolis on Friday night felt truly unforgettable. It was the kind of performance that made everyone stop what they were doing and simply watch as Caitlin Clark delivered one of the greatest games basketball has ever seen. She finished with 45 points, 10 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks, producing a stat line so incredibly rare that only 4 other professional players, men's or women's, had ever matched it. Even more remarkable, she accomplished it in under 30 minutes while still under a minute's restriction that her coaching staff hadn't yet removed. Analysts began mentioning Michael Jordan, Luka Doncic, and other legendary names, while social media struggled to capture the magnitude of what had happened. For one incredible night, the focus stayed entirely on Clark's brilliance, the history she created, and what it meant for her future. Then Saturday arrived, and everything shifted within just 90 seconds. Early against the New York Liberty, Clark collided with a hard screen from Liberty center Jonquel Jones, hit the floor expecting a whistle, but none came. After getting up and saying something to the nearest official, she was immediately assessed a technical foul, her 6th of the season, costing her $1,000 before the game had barely begun. Suddenly, the player who had just entered one of basketball's rarest statistical clubs sat only 2 technical fouls away from an automatic 1-game suspension. The celebrations from the previous night were still fresh. Highlight reels continued flooding social media, yet the league had already found its biggest star before her second game of the weekend had settled in. The contrast sparked widespread debate. Meanwhile, Indiana secured a convincing 108-88 victory as Kelsey Mitchell scored 33 points, improving the Fever to 15-10 and strengthening their playoff position in an increasingly competitive conference. Despite the victory, that wasn't what dominated the headlines. Instead, the spotlight stayed on the technical foul, the $1,000 fine, and the growing concern that Clark now had 6 technicals with only 2 more separating her from an automatic suspension. Fans had spent Friday celebrating one of the greatest individual performances in women's basketball history, only to spend Saturday tracking technical fouls like a countdown. For those who had followed the season closely, the sudden shift didn't feel like bad luck or coincidence. It felt like another chapter in a controversy that had been building for months, one disputed whistle after another. To understand why Saturday sparked such a strong reaction, you have to rewind to June, when Clark received a technical foul against the Phoenix Mercury that many fans and analysts believed was questionable. It was the kind of emotional moment officials often overlook, but this time the call remained. After review, the WNBA upheld the technical instead of rescinding it, even though similar situations involving other players had been reversed earlier that season. That decision ignited frustration, not because of one technical alone, but because many believed it reflected inconsistent treatment. Fans quickly shared screenshots, side-by-side comparisons, and examples of players showing similar or even stronger reactions without receiving the same penalties. The question kept growing louder. Why was one player's technical rescinded while another stood under similar circumstances? From that point forward, every technical involving Clark was viewed through that same lens. By July, reactions weren't focused on one whistle but on what many saw as a season-long pattern, with disputed calls documented game after game. The June decision didn't simply lead to a fine. It also weakened the league's credibility among many fans who were already paying close attention. Adding even more weight to the discussion was Indiana head coach Stephanie White, whose comments carried significance because she wasn't an online commentator but a professional coach responsible for leading her team while carefully addressing officiating without creating further conflict with the league. Even Indiana's own coaching staff has openly recognized the pattern. After an earlier technical foul, Stephanie White told reporters there needed to be discussions about using those fouls more strategically against Clark. That statement carries real weight. A head coach publicly acknowledging that Clark's relationship with WNBA officiating has become something the organization must actively manage shows this is no longer being dismissed as online overreaction. Instead, it's an issue the team is preparing for strategically. When a coaching staff chooses its words this carefully in public, it reflects how seriously the situation is viewed within the organization. National media has noticed as well. Commentators across major sports outlets have described Clark's situation as a political tug-of-war, pointing out how she is celebrated as the league's biggest attraction one week and disciplined more publicly than many of her peers the next. Once that narrative spreads beyond WNBA coverage into the wider sports world, the league no longer directs the conversation because the story begins shaping itself. Casual fans who never paid attention to technical foul procedures are now questioning consistency and fairness simply because the debate has become impossible to ignore. That creates far greater pressure than criticism on social media, as the league's public image is being influenced in real time by a discussion it neither started nor can easily silence. Looking at the technical foul standings only adds more fuel to the debate. Clark is tied for second in the league alongside Kahlia Copper, trailing only Angel Reese. Yet their playing styles are dramatically different. Reese thrives through physical interior play. Copper relentlessly attacks the basket, while Clark's game is built around perimeter shooting, passing, and floor spacing rather than constant physical contact. That contrast naturally raises more questions than answers. When players with such different styles share the same disciplinary position, many fans see more than coincidence, and without clear explanations from the league, they continue forming conclusions that have done little to help its public perception. Rather than fading away, the fan response has become surprisingly organized despite having no official leadership behind it. Every technical foul involving Clark now sparks instant discussion, with fans refreshing live box scores to monitor her total, sharing screenshots, compiling video clips, and comparing disputed calls against similar situations involving other players. It has evolved beyond ordinary frustration into a community-driven effort to document every controversial decision in real time. That level of detailed tracking creates its own pressure on the league because every call is recorded, analyzed, and added to a growing public record instead of being forgotten after the final buzzer. Each new incident simply adds another layer to an ongoing conversation. There is also a financial side that deserves greater attention. Before the season, the WNBA revised its disciplinary system so that technical fouls 4 through 7 each result in a $1,000 fine, a significant increase from the previous $200 starting penalty. While the rule applies to every player, its impact is much greater on someone like Clark, who has reached that threshold faster than most of the league. The issue extends beyond the money itself. Critics argue that increasing the financial consequences while questions about officiating consistency remain unresolved places the responsibility almost entirely on players. From that perspective, the message becomes that reacting to perceived inconsistency is simply becoming more expensive rather than addressing the underlying concern. Supporters who believe officiating is the real issue have taken notice of that dynamic. Clark, however, has consistently avoided presenting the matter as a personal complaint. Instead of focusing on individual calls, she has repeatedly pointed toward a broader solution by advocating for full-time referees rather than the league's current part-time officiating system, a distinction that significantly changes the direction of the conversation. Clark has consistently emphasized that she is not seeking special treatment. She has never argued that specific calls should be reversed in her favor. Instead, she has maintained that inconsistent officiating is a broader staffing and infrastructure issue, one that would improve the game for every player if addressed. That distinction gives her position added credibility because it shifts the discussion away from personal frustration and toward the need for structural improvements. Those are two very different conversations, and the second is far more difficult for the league office to dismiss without appearing unwilling to solve a problem many believe can be fixed. If an 8th technical foul arrives, the consequences are simple under league rules. Clark would automatically receive a 1-game suspension, a $1,500 fine, and there would be no hearing or appeal to prevent the suspension from taking effect. For many players, missing 1 game might be a minor setback, but for Indiana, the impact could be far greater. With the Fever sitting at 15-10 in a tightly contested playoff race, every game has become increasingly important. Clark is averaging nearly 21 points, close to 8 assists, and 4 rebounds per game, while serving as the centerpiece of Indiana's offense. Her playmaking, shooting range, and ability to create opportunities force opposing defenses to adjust in ways no other player on the roster can consistently replicate. Taking her out of the lineup doesn't simply remove a scorer. It forces the Fever to reshape their entire offensive identity with almost no preparation during one of the most critical stretches of the season. That kind of adjustment is difficult to make smoothly and almost always comes with a cost. The effects would also extend well beyond Indiana's record. Every game Clark plays brings the league something it has worked for years to build: larger crowds, stronger television ratings, and sustained national attention. Wherever she travels, arenas continue to sell out, making her presence valuable not only to the Fever, but to the league as a whole. Clark's impact extends far beyond the Fever. Broadcasters consistently highlight her games as major ratings drivers, and the league itself has acknowledged that her presence has accelerated the sport's growth in ways no single marketing campaign could have achieved. A suspension would not only leave Indiana without its star for one game, but it would also remove one of the WNBA's biggest attractions at a time when casual fans are engaging with women's basketball more than ever. That possibility is no longer just theoretical. With Clark sitting only 2 technical fouls away from an automatic suspension, it has become a very real concern. As a result, every technical foul now carries its own storyline. Fans closely monitor live box scores during Fever games, tracking her foul count and analyzing every interaction she has with officials. Whenever she speaks to a referee after a call, social media seems to pause, waiting to see whether another technical has been issued. That constant level of attention creates pressure not only for the league, but especially for Clark herself. She competes with passion and intensity, qualities expected from elite athletes. Yet she must now balance those emotions while knowing every reaction could move her one step closer to a suspension. Few professional athletes face that kind of public scrutiny over every whistle, and those who do are usually the sport's biggest stars with the largest audiences and greatest influence. That reality brings the focus back to Clark. The discussion has never been about excusing legitimate technical fouls. Instead, the central question many continue asking is whether the standards are being enforced consistently for every player across the league. The margin for error has become incredibly small at the very moment Clark is playing the best basketball of her career, while the pressure on everyone connected to her, teammates, coaches, broadcasters, and the league, continues to grow. It raises a difficult question. Is it fair to expect the most closely watched player in the sport to compete, knowing just 2 technical fouls separate her from a mandatory suspension? Reaching this stage of the season has already required overcoming significant challenges. Clark entered the year managing injuries that led Indiana's coaching staff to keep her on a minutes restriction, and the physical contact she absorbs every game has remained a constant topic of discussion since her rookie season. That ongoing debate over how consistently those plays are officiated has now been joined by the reality of a looming suspension, escalating financial penalties with each additional technical foul, and continued calls for full-time referees that have yet to receive a public response from the league. Altogether, it places an extraordinary amount of pressure on one player during what should be one of the most celebrated stretches of her career. A week that began with a historic 45-point, 10-assist performance quickly transformed into headlines about fines and suspension calculations, creating a striking contrast that has become impossible to ignore. For Fever fans, every game now feels divided between enjoying the basketball itself and watching the technical foul count, wondering whether the next whistle could change everything. That lingering tension has become part of every Indiana broadcast, growing stronger because no clear resolution has emerged. From the July 18th fine and the June technical that remained in place to Clark's repeated push for full-time officials, the suspension countdown, detailed fan tracking, and Stephanie White's carefully measured public comments, each piece has combined to shape a much larger story that extends well beyond any single game. Ultimately, everything comes back to one central question: does the WNBA intend to genuinely respond to Caitlin Clark's concerns? Not with another statement or a policy update hidden inside league language, but by directly addressing her repeated argument that inconsistent officiating is a structural issue requiring a structural solution. So far, many observers see the response as a cycle of silence followed by fines, and when that pattern continues, it begins to feel less like isolated decisions and more like established policy. Fans have tracked every disputed whistle since spring, and that attention has only intensified. What began as a WNBA discussion has expanded into the broader sports world, while Clark has continued standing by the same public position throughout the season. Those three forces, supporters, media, and Clark herself, now place simultaneous pressure on a league office that has yet to offer a response many view as meaningful. With only 2 technical fouls separating Clark from an automatic suspension, the conversation is no longer hypothetical. One more pair of whistles would shift the focus from what could happen to what has happened, leaving the league's most-watched player on the bench during a crucial playoff race. Every remaining Fever game carries significant postseason implications, and the team's offense is built around Clark's unique ability to create opportunities. Whether an 8th technical ever arrives or not, the pressure already exists. The league has spent the past 2 seasons acknowledging Clark's enormous influence on the sport's commercial growth and national popularity, yet it now sits just 2 technical fouls away from suspending that same player. Fans have documented the calls, the media has shaped the narrative, and Clark has clearly presented her position. Now the attention turns to the WNBA and whether it chooses to engage with those concerns or continue hoping the debate fades away. If you believe the league should directly address Clark's concerns, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to subscribe because this story is far from over.